work hard at it. If I work hard at it, I'll be where I wanna be. I'll be where I wanna be.
And this is Whcr 90.3 on the FM dial, coming to you from the campus of City College in Harlem, USA. That's Nas. Nas up in the house. Nas up in the house. His dad is having a salute to him at the Schomburg. I don't have the material in front of me. It's either Friday or Saturday. His dad is Oludara, lives up here on the hill. The brother up on the hill. Midnight has had a song. There's a Thrill up on the hill. There's a folk singer up on the hill, Oludara. Program that you're about to hear, Respect for Life, does not reflect the views, attitudes, whims, deeds, or any other proclivities of the management of WHCR, nor that of the administration of City College, nor that of CUNY. However, the program does reflect the research done by the participants in the program who are live and live in color in studio by phone interview. And, of course, there is you, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, boys and girls, the first-class citizens of the world. We thank the Most High for blessing us with another day on this good earth, another day to do some good deeds for ourselves, our families, and for humanity, trying to have a positive mental attitude, keeping that foremost, and keeping in mind doing a good deed can bring a whole lot of benefit to ourselves or to our children or to our grandchildren. So it pays to do some good deeds, to put some good deeds in the bank of the universe. You may not see the results, but maybe one day, somehow, you hear something about one of your grandchildren that's so great, and you say, the thought will come right to your mind that you may have had that prayer hand in it. The Amsterdam News. The Amsterdam News. Don't let your bones decay. Take vitamin K. So on page 39 in the current issue of the Amsterdam News, Presidential Pride, and that's the presidential issue of the Amsterdam News, and sleeping pills come under fire by the FDA. Now, anytime the FDA is coming out against something, it's way over the top, which means that if you are on sleeping pills, you better do a checkup on a checkup. Glaucoma cases among African Americans to rise. Why would it rise? And Brother Robert.
Yes.
God bless you. Hold on one second.
Not going nowhere.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Amsterdam News is filled with information, and also on page 17, there's a book review on the slave revolts in Puerto Rico. Slave revolts in Puerto Rico, conspiracies and uprisings between 1795 and 1873, the years of 1795 and 1873. Remember, Arturo Schomburg, his birthday was last week, January 24th, and he is a Puerto Rican. People like to say a black Puerto Rican. Well, he was a Puerto Rican, and that means a black man who was brought over from Africa, in all likelihood, dropped off in that part of the world, and under the domination of Spain, resulting in speaking Spanish. Meanwhile, his cousin, Jabo, as Brother Dick Gregory would say, it was dropped off in Savannah. And one day they meet, they look just alike. The fact of the matter is we come from the same place, but we speak different languages. And then culture gets involved, and the slave master wanted every black person to think that he was better than the other on the other plantation or the other island or the other nation, and we bring that into the mix today. So Negroes want to say people of color. They are afraid to say black people. They're afraid to call themselves black. But you know, Brother Leroy comes from that zone. Last week we had Brother Robert give us his insights into how prisoners, inmates in prison, maintain their mental health in an environment that is dedicated to breaking the will, the mind, the morals of the inmates, be they male or female, and change them in such a way and send them back if they're able to come back into the community, if they live long enough, come back into the community with a whole different mindset, so that you see a lot of our black men and black women who've been in prison, they have these angry looks on their face. It's like war, you know. And you passing them on the street, and then there are others who've been drugged up and on methadone and other drugs, psychotropic drugs that keep them moving around, getting big and whatnot, and deteriorating their bodies. So Respect for Life presents part 2 with Brother Robert. We're going to discuss a number of things, and you'll have the opportunity of calling in about 20 minutes, 212-650-6903, 212-650-6903. Once again, we are thankful to the Most High for blessing us to have a classroom on a Monday morning, Respect for Life. Brother Robert, assalamu alaikum. Thank you for joining us. God bless you.
Alaikum salam. Thanks for having me. Name of Allah, the merciful. I bear witness there is no God but Muhammad is his last name. Assalamu alaikum, family.
Wa alaikum salam.
Peace be unto you, to the listening audience. First, I'd like to get into a situation here this morning that we may not be aware of. The mind games that they can play on inmates, whatever their persuasion is. They may be politically imprisoned, criminal activity, or framed, or as a result of a bogus trial, or they might have pled guilty to a crime they didn't even commit. We have a lot of that in jail today, and that plays on your mind continuously. So when you're dealing with a person, you have them in isolation or in population, and you want to, I beg your pardon?
No, go ahead. That might be a reverb going on, but go ahead.
Oh, and you want to get him out of population where you can deal with his mind, or lock him up for some unjust law that you have in prison, such as having certain types of literature in your cell. Positive literature can get you taken out of population. Good literature for black people is bad literature for white people. We do realize that. So when you are taken out of population or given extensive no privileges, keep locks, one of the main things that hold you together, if you don't have a discipline to study, is physical exercise. You can exercise 3 or 4 times a day when you don't have no yard and no privileges. The 1-hour recreation is relatively new. You could be in 24-hour lockdown and you get no recreation. In 24-hour lockdown, that means you were brought food. You might go out once a week for a shower, once every 2 weeks, or maybe you didn't get a shower. They might have thrown a bucket of water on you. So we can't look at this 1-hour, 23-hour lockdown as a really high point, but it's better than the 24-hour lockdown. You can run around, you can jog, and you can count calisthenics. And if there's anything in your mind that to make you maintain your will, your morals, and control over your mind, you can go over those things. We find out today the mind is like a tape recorder. Right now, everyone listening can look back in their head. You might not go back to when you were 3 years old, but most of you knew what you was doing when you was from 10 to 15. You know, you got a good idea what you were doing when you were 20 to 30, if you might be 50 or 60 now. So you can play things over in your mind. That's one of the good things about jail. If you have something on your mind and they take you and put you in an isolated situation to break your will and your morals, you can go over the disciplines you have. I went over basic disciplines, and then I was introduced to the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And they really keep you where you're supposed to be as far as your morals are concerned. We have restricted laws, and we have a strong study program. If you can study that program for 6 or 7 months, you have enough to go over in your head to maintain your sanity for years to come. That's how great the program that Mr. Muhammad had that he taught us. And also in those days when I first went to prison, you still had Garveyites in jail. Honorable Marcus Garvey, he had followers, and Honorable Noble Drew Ali, they had followers. So no one had exclusive jurisdiction over solitary confinement and punishment. Now, the good part about it in those days, we hadn't been totally separated. If I knew how to do legal work, I helped you without trying to rob you like these Jewish lawyers do. I helped you just on the strength you were crossed at your court.
We cannot say, Brother Robert, we cannot say like Jewish lawyers do.
Can't hear you, my friend.
We cannot say like Jewish lawyers do.
Oh, I'm very sorry, but most attorneys.
No, wait a minute. Now, I'm not going to argue with you. I'm just stating what is the fact. We cannot say what Jewish lawyers do.
Okay.
Just as we cannot say what Muslim lawyers do, if that were the case.
Okay.
Because that casts a blanket over those who are not guilty and have no idea of any injustice. Okay?
Yes.
All right. Go ahead.
The pardon of your pardon and the pardon of the listening audience. It's just that I'm so closely related and associated to the court. I come in contact with a lot of lawyers who are unscrupulous. I won't mention their ethnicity. And you going over the program of Mr. Muhammad, the Nation of Islam, Black Panther rules and regulations are parallel to ours, and so is the Young Lords and other groups. We all wanted to lift our educational information because we all sought to come out. See, when you have a sentence of life with no possibility of parole, you may not even be the one that committed the crime. See, you may not be guilty. So if someone take you under their wing and give you a little legal information until you're addicted to the law itself, law is an addicting principle in jail. When your consciousness elevates, law will help you maintain your will, your mind, and your morals, because you have to really be elevated to go against the judges and district attorneys who do this legal work 24/7 and have learned how to really enslave us in an open courtroom. So if you go over the information in your brain, this is why they took the educational system out of some institutions, because they realized you were becoming smarter, inmates were becoming more intelligent than the people who were keeping them locked up. And they were going back to court to give convictions back like they had a key to the door. So they got their crack agents to cause trouble among us in the society and in the street. I have reports when there was no gang activity, officers had orders to dress up in the colors of an opposing gang and go through the neighborhood and do a drive-by with the colors of an opposite gang.
That is exactly correct. It happened out in happened out in Los Angeles on a consistent basis. On a consistent basis in Los Angeles, it's what they call Central LA. On a consistent basis. We're talking about people being killed, inconveniently shot in the head, marksmen, and blame to inflame individuals against one another. And that is absolute fact. But continue, please. See, the reason I interject that is that it's so way out to people that they forget what happened in Iraq. Muslims were not disrespecting mosques in Iraq before these people went in. When these people go in, then mosques are being bombed. Muslims would never bomb a mosque. But the Shiites and the Sunnis, this is the stuff that was created from the interlopers, the invaders going in. So what happens over there happens over here. Please continue.
Yes, and that spilled over that spills over into the institutions, and it helps to take the educational paradigm out of prisons. It caused a type of warfare in prison where you could hardly go to the mess hall and eat without the people in the mess hall going on a jihad or something similar to a religious war, and it was all about colors and what neighborhood you came from. And that gave the authorities the reason to bring in more oppressive treatment. They begin to develop, like I said last week, a war mentality. Like you're captured behind enemy lines. You're the enemy of the state when you get in prison because you've already violated some of the laws and rules and regulations of that state, of that sovereign entity that have a little power over our physical being. And if you can't maintain the balance of your mind and your will, they will have power over that as well as your morals. These things we don't have to mention in chronological order, but we can look around us wherever you are in the 5 boroughs in continental North America. I think you can see wills that have been damaged, morals that have slipped off the chart, and mind that's also off the chart. And oftentimes it may not be the victim. See, they have made the victim look like the villain. These brothers you see going around that's been given psychotropic medication since they were children, well, the medication have damaged their mind. And they have medications today that can alter your morals and break your will to a certain degree. It's a law of average in every principle. In mathematics, you can do everything right, then it's one time. So naturally, all this doesn't apply to everybody. All lawyers are not bad, but we do have 85% of them we can speak about is going against their...
keep your voice up. Your voice is going down.
Another thing that maintains a person's sanity...
Brother Robert, your voice...
Today.
Brother Robert, your voice is...
2,000 units.
Brother Robert,
Yes.
Your voice is going down.
Okay.
Going up and down.
Because it was given an echo. Can you hear me now?
No. You're clear now.
Okay. The special housing units are also called the SHU. And that's where they really can put oppressive measures on you. See, we were treated worse than the people on Guantanamo Bay and worse than the German prisoners of World War II. Our prisons were actually torture chambers from the south to the north. We were tortured. Waterboarding is not new. Waterboarding was used on us in the south and some of these isolated areas in certain prisons in New York State, California. You're not trying to go to Angola. You're not trying to get busted in parts of Florida. These are draconian places that still use medieval techniques. Yes, they still can put you in a hole in the summertime that's made out of tin or something, right in the heat of the sun.
See, you didn't see Django.
No, I didn't.
If you saw Django, you would have seen the box out on the plantation with the black woman in the box. You would have seen what you're talking about, its origins, right there in the movie.
Yes.
And people think that it's, just fictional.
Right.
Some people. I'm talking about Django. What you're talking about is absolutely correct in terms of Georgia, Louisiana, those hellholes.
Yes, sir.
And on the internet, folks can look up. There's a long piece, Supermax Prisons, the punitive extreme of the American correctional system. And it's a piece that's written by Danielle M. Shields, Shields. It backs up everything that Brother Robert is sharing. in terms of condition, in terms of treatment. Both last week and this week, it backs up everything he's saying. And I just cutting in here, when you talk about the mind, talk about the transition that occurs that you have seen with men being in prison. Their mindset is one way when they come in. Could be young brothers, could be older brothers. And the transition, what happens to their minds in order for them to survive in that environment, the environment of where of the prison when they go in? And talk about the different institutions, some of the different institutions that you were at, and looking at the transitions.
Yes, it's a twofold part. In some individuals, especially if they've never been incarcerated, their mind could really sink and put them on a lethargic level. They'll almost withdraw from bathing, taking care of their basic hygiene. And in other individuals who may have been lethargic in the society, they go to prison and excel. I mean, it's funny you should ask that. They go to prison and excel. They start getting literature that helps them in things they failed at in the society. Those prisons, I would say, 9 times out of 10, are looking for a way not to come back. When they are released in society, they want to have some type of coping tool. So you have, when I was in jail, Greenhaven was not a maximum security institution. Clinton was considered to be a maxi. Attica and a few others. Matter of fact, let me clear this up. When I went to prison, there were only 10 prisons in New York State. Now they have 72. Do the math. 10 prisons in all New York State. And I guess you can throw Mattawan, which was a psychiatric facility, Napanock, a psychiatric facility, and Dannemora, Box A, psychiatric facility. Today, there are 72 functioning institutions. Each institution has close to 1,200 men in it. That's a small prison. The average prison has 2,000 people. So I guess it's almost safe to say a third of the prison population may very well be innocent or close to it. And that causes a shift in the mindset. For you thinking that you're in a government where the Constitution means something and the judges are right and above certain, their morals, you think their morals are right when actually they're dragging the ground, and they're able to take an innocent man in, give him life or 50 to life or life twice, when the DNA, when the mitochondrial DNA may point to a Caucasian and the man is black. The man in the cell is black. The mitochondrial DNA balances in all the genetical structure and its genetical information. It points to Paleolithic people, or Neanderthal as being the root base. European. You cannot get my DNA mixed up with a European. So to find European DNA at the scene and lock a brother up that looked like a bowling ball or car tire black is satanic. That's straight up satanic. To put me in a cell, I look like a car tire. And the mitochondrial DNA not only can tell you that it's a Caucasian or Paleolithic person, it can give you the color of the eyes and the color of the hair and the approximate height of the person. And you can trace his family tree back to Europe. So, when you run into that type of situation in jail and you didn't commit the crime, that can have a moral effect on you and bust your will. This is why we recommend corresponding. Corresponding don't mean you got to send me $50 every week. All you're doing is giving me an arm to society. You don't have to send me the magazine with the nude ladies in them. There's magazines you could send me to enhance my political perspective, my morals, and it's magazines you can send me today that will help my mind and my willpower. There's other disciplines. There's other organizations. You have a diagnetic situation in prison. You have Dr. King has a group in there. Push. Everybody that has an organizational structure have members who are incarcerated. Incarceration is very high on the stock market. They don't care who they incarcerate because they get $50,000 rock bottom if you're not taking medication. That's a lot of money in these towns where you have 2,000 men in a prison in that town. One prison can support 5 villages and 2 or 3 towns. It's on the principle of 7 to 3, 3 to 11, 11 to 7.
Those are the shifts.
Those are the shifts that then come in and go out.
Hold on a second while we pause for station identification. This is Respectful Life. I'm your host, Brother Leroy. Our guest online is Brother Robert of Surviving the Rock. He is a legal advisor inside of a prison. He would be called a jailhouse lawyer. And he'll talk briefly on what he's doing in that regards right after this.
WHCR 90.3 FM, New York.
And just to wrap up the answer that you were giving to the question I raised, which the changing of the individual, you were citing if you are innocent and it is obvious to you that you are innocent, you weren't even anywhere around, and you're incarcerated unjustly, and you may have been double-crossed in the court by the lawyer. You may have been unjustly evidence suppressed by the judge, or witnesses not allowed in, such as the Central Park 5. I would ask Sister Sharon Salam, I said, well, what did you see in court? I said, how were the young brothers defended? She said, we weren't allowed in. I said, well, how do you mean you weren't allowed? She said, they said that we might be witnesses, called on as witnesses. We never saw the trial. The parents never saw the trial. They never saw how their children were railroaded. But the individuals, such as Brother Wayne and Brother Ilombe and his wife, Sister Numza, and others who were in those court sessions and said that the lawyers for those brothers did a poor job. You know, it's just, the kind of discussion that we had yesterday with Alton Maddox on these same airwaves, talking about how things are stacked against black men and women. Just conclude in terms of what you've seen in terms of individuals going off the deep end, hearing about suicides, hearing about rapes, and the animalistic aspect of the culture within the prison that our young brothers and sisters don't know and think it's gonna, I'm going in, the rites of passage. I'm not a man until I go in, and it ain't no big thing.
Yes, you have a few brothers, if their gender is bent, they may seek a suicidal way out. But if you look back, before psychotropic medications, even some of the slaves didn't commit suicide.
Did not.
Suicide has never been popular among us.
Right.
A lot of suicides are murders carried out by the correction officers and others, where they tell the parents that your child committed suicide. And now we know that there are certain medications, even they'll tell you right on the TV, Channel 1, Channel 7, if you take this medication for that, it can give you suicidal tendencies or homicidal tendencies. Stop your heart, make you sterile, make you impotent, mess your speech up, your kidney, and your liver. So they have taken our minds and reduced our minds to a level, you still take that medication. They tell you the side effects of that medication, the symptoms I just mentioned, and you go to the drugstore, which is a dealer, He's no different from the other guys selling drugs, except he has a prescription to give you, and it makes it look legal when it's actually illegal, because a psychotropic medication is only a Band-Aid, and it alone can trigger you into a deeper lethargic condition and damage your mind. If you can't damage my mind with your tricks, they use psychotropic medication to help, and they're giving it to our children at a much earlier age. So yes, there are rapes in prison, just like there are rapes out here, and there are marriages in prison, just like there are marriages out here. Okay, and people try to justify behavior according to situations in a lot of cases. I love all of us. I love all of us. All Asiatic black people I love sincerely, but may not like your lifestyle. That has nothing to do with me and you. I don't like your lifestyle, but I love you. You may love me, but you may not like my lifestyle. Maybe you got something against the bow tie, or maybe you don't like to see a brother in a suit all the time. Regardless, we got to skin this cat together. We're having eugenics and genocide practice on us, and we seem to be laughing all the way to the concentration camps, to the oven. We're partying all the way to the concentration camp. What I would like to say about jailhouse lawyering.
Yes.
I have two cases now where the mitochondrial DNA belongs to one case, 3 Caucasians. 3 different Caucasian blood is at the scene. The victim in a cell, his mitochondrial DNA is not present, nor was he in the state of New York when that crime happened. But he has 50 to life. And I'm presently working on another situation where the mitochondrial DNA belongs to 2 or 3 other people, not the man in jail. So I do jailhouse legal work out here in the street. It took me 5 years to get a pass where I can go in jail and call a man down and discuss his case for him intelligently without any shams. I'm dead set against sham attorneys, regardless of their ethnicity. I have a case in the South where a black man was sold down the drain by 2 black lawyers. And the judge told the lawyers that they were incompetent both at the trials. And they still won't let this man out. He has close to 14 or 15 years in as we speak. And he mailed me his transcripts and trial records and things. And I'm now going. I have a list of law universities that will take on cases. I'm hoping they take this case just because I let them know in advance the sellout was not other ethnicities. They were black attorneys that did this. See, I'm not, like I say, I love brothers and sisters unconditionally. I may not like your lifestyle, but I got a pretty good hand on the judicial system, having been a target of it a couple times myself. So I encourage all brothers, your friends and mine, and relatives, go to the law library. Just read the crime you're in there for. You don't have to go in there and see what smuggling, what's the penalty for smuggling if you snatching hams. Excuse me for laughing on it. But if you snatching hams, you don't have nothing to do with smuggling. Go in there and see the penalty for snatching hams. See how much you can get. Don't let them scare you with 30 years when the maximum you can get for snatching hams is 18 months. You don't let them tell you, trick you, you're going to get 30 years and you plead guilty or something. Do the research. If you're in there for a bag of weed, see what the law says about how much weed you can have before it's a felony. Yes, if you're in there for a bag of cocaine, a bag of heroin, see what the law says. Maybe the law says that amount of heroin is personal use. You don't have to be dealing. You can have just as much heroin as your daily steaks. This is what I use every day. Matter of fact, 3 or 4 times a day. That we're noted for not wanting to read. So if I want to hide something from you, I'll put it in a book. The chances are 8 out of 10 won't ever see it unless they're led to it.
Brother Robert, I take it from what you just said about doing that research on the infraction that you may be guilty of, or somebody next to you is guilty of, but they caught you and him up in the net, and now they charging both of y'all. Since the other one had something on him, you and he had to be dealing and that sort of thing. That this is the case where they will play on your lack of knowledge and get you to plead for something above and beyond the time that the infraction is for.
Yes, they master that. They won't just get you to do it. They master that.
Let me just say to the audience that there is a film that you should look at, ladies and gentlemen. It's called American Violet. American Violet, Violet, American Violet. Get that film and look at it with your family. It is a tremendous film based on true life story out of Texas. But what you see in that film applies to every state in the USA as it relates to black people. Telephone number 212-650-6903, 212-650-6903. As our good brother activist, community activist Ray Richardson would say, we want to talk about solutions. So as people prepare to call in with their questions, based on what you've shared with us to this point, what are some things that the audience can do to keep our young people out, to keep our older people out, and to safeguard the ones who are already in, but hold that until we go to these questions? God bless you. Thank you for your call. You're on the Black Air.
Assalamu alaikum, Brother Leroy.
Wa alaikum salam, my brother.
I remember if the brother ever seen a picture called Fortress. It was a motion picture dealing with the building of incarcerated prisons underground.
Oh, the Supermax.
Supermax, I think it was this. And they mentioned something in there that were even using the prisoners to construct these underground prisons. And I was wondering if they, I know they probably have these already set up now in this country in different states. And I was wondering if you can touch on that. Okay.
All right. Thank you for your call. What do you know about these prisons that were built, have and are being built underground? When you pass them by, you don't know that it's a prison. It's set up for total sensory deprivation.
It's the biggest game in town as we speak, and it's a blessing that the brothers should mention that. They just put one up, if I'm not mistaken, in South Carolina, where you drive past it, you see a couple brick buildings, and you just think it's like maybe a little factory or something, or you may know it's an institution, but you wonder, where are the inmates? Inmates are in this institution. They have 5 or 6 floors underground. And usually in those institutions, it could be, if you say you're on level 5, it'll be 5 years before you see another inmate. Yeah, and this is where you'll see that you're capable of doing magnificent things with your mind and your will. This is a special type of punishment that they developed because they use World War II techniques, World War I, that came from Berlin and different places, concentration camps. They were able to take it to another level. They found out quite a bit during World War II and the 40s, from 35 to 45. They found out just how much punishment a man can take. And they have no problem with putting you in an oven, just in case you think it's a fairy tale. So they put these underground prisons into effect, and they can do anything against you. A lot of inmates come up with cancer in these places, especially if they're high-profile criminals. If you've been noticing over the last 5 or 10 years, all high-profile criminals die within a year or two after being in these places, and they say they all have cancer. You can give cancer out today the same way you give out a cigarette. You can put it in a vaccination. We call it a time bomb because they've discovered ways to put contaminants in vaccinations that can have a window period of 5 or 10 years before it's released into your molecular structure in your bloodstream. So cancer is something you have to be on alert for with medication. Now, this prison can put you totally on an animalistic level. You can reduce a man to an animal. Savage is nothing fancy. And all it means is a man has lost the knowledge of himself and he goes into a beast activity, what we call a beast activity. Nothing fancy. You don't get no contact from nobody 20, 30 years. Yeah, I don't think you're too interested in shaving or combing your hair or bathing. In order to come out and get a bath, you might get beat up on your way back into your cell. So after that happens in a few times, you don't want to come out. And then they charge you with violating the hygiene laws, and they can do other punitive things to you. I wanted a chance to go into shock treatment.
Gotta hold on. God bless you. Thank you for your call. You're on the Black Ear.
Yes, salam alaikum, Brother Leroy, and salam alaikum, Brother Robert.
Wa alaikum salam.
I think that this program is one of the most enlightening ones that you've had in quite a while, and the sad part about it is that we have more blacks in prison now in the year 2013 than we had back in 1850. I repeat, more. And the bottom line is that there is a solution. As I told you before, there's a brother by the name of Frank King and my son Malik Shabazz. They have a book out called Crackhead Soup and Hot Sauce. Once again, Crackhead Soup and Hot Sauce. It's a survival guide. If you're unfortunate enough to go to prison, and when you come out, they have agencies that will help the brothers and sisters go to these different agencies so they can get employment or get public assistance or whatever they need, get proper schooling. And this book is a hot seller on Amazon.com. Crackhead Soup and Hot Sauce, a must-read, and I hope you have these gentlemen on your show. But the sad part is, what the brother was saying is this, that it's all about economics. If we have each head is worth $50,000, you do the math. It's the biggest industry with the exception of the war industry in this country. And my question to the brother is this. We know this. We, as people in the diaspora, progressive people, know that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad taught us back in the day about it. The solution is we have to pool our resources, educate our brothers and sisters, and have people like yourself on Brother Leroy show and national programs pushing this degradation and this disease. And my question to you is this: how do we, as black people who are fathers, grandfathers, some of us even great-grandfathers and grandmothers, going up to see our children in these different so-called correctional facilities? They don't even call them prisons anymore.
Your question.
How do we in the diaspora support brothers like yourself and support brothers like Malik Shabazz and Brother Frank King, who have been in the system and know the solution of how to get out of it? I'll hang up and listen to your response. And you know, Brother Leroy, my signature, I love you, and there's nothing you can do about it.
I love you, Black. Thank you.
Alaikum salam, sir. Thanks for your comment and your question.
The question, the last question is how are people like yourself supported so that your knowledge and information can be shared on a broader or more intimate basis?
Well, I have flyers out, and then I give my number out, my phone number.
Yeah, do that.
But I want to comment on the brother. First of all, I want him to get my number so I can get that crackhead soup and hot sauce. Must have that. That's a must-read for me, Aki.
Go ahead.
Yeah, crackhead soup and hot sauce. I have to get it. I have to get that. So he's going to give you my number. But now, as we mature, see, we're actually maturing. At one side of us, it looks like the will and the mind and the morals are disappearing. But it's every coin has two sides. on one side, we were able to sort of separate the wheat from the tares. So now everybody has taken a shot at what they could do, and we found out people were doing things they were not qualified to do. So now you have to do research on who you would like to support in this particular work. And the people who you think should be sitting at a table or should be invited to a community center, and you can lay your cards on the table. Otherwise, we will beat each other. People come to me and say, brother, you got to do something. We gave this other brother XYZ. He didn't even show up in court for my son. And same thing with lawyers. We paid this lawyer royally, and he showed up in court 2 or 3 times, and we got no response. They didn't discipline him. We don't know what to do. See, we're still deaf, dumb, and blind, surprisingly, but we're learning. Each one teach one. Say, listen, get this book, Crackhead, Soup, and Hot Sauce. Get the national agenda put out by the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. It gives us an 8-year span of what we should be doing collectively. And in the Nation of Islam, the offer is still made. If you got a better program, bring it to the nation. Yes. I don't care what you believe in. You can walk on your head. But you just might know how to keep innocent men out of jail. I want that from you. I want to get that. I want to help you with that. Yeah, I want to help you with that. I want to help you do that. I want to help Malik and the Brother King. I want to help them brothers. I want to help them brothers. I got brothers right now coming home, don't have anywhere to go. They may end up on Hart's Island or somewhere. Don't have no benefits. They left when they went in, they didn't have no benefits. And they might have copped out to a crime they didn't commit. Yeah, I want to help them. Yeah, that's what I'm about. Now, if you do research, you got to do research. Say, well, what has this brother done? Is anybody in the street because of his work? Did he actually help anybody? Did he do a legal aid job? You can starve in the land of plenty. A lot of time I do legal aid. Yeah, ma'am, I'll help him. Because I got a mother. And she would come and see me and say, hey, guess what? What's your name send you $10? What's your name sent you $20? Wow. That's like 20 grand. That's like 20 grand. Okay? So, we have to come together and we have to have these situations where we can discuss stuff intelligently. I'm not going to out-talk you, Archie. Don't out-talk me. But I have transcripts and a track record that I have on paper. And my flyers are up in some of the maximum facilities. I have flyers up on Rikers Island. And oftentimes a correction officer will call me and say, listen, they got my nephew. What should I do, Brother Muhammad? And when I go to Rikers Island, I don't have no problem. You know, and if I feel like it, I go with my 3-piece. If I'm going to bring an inmate downstairs and we're going to jihad, and, you know, he going to come down with all his transcripts, and I'm going to take all the transcripts and court records, arresting officer statement, witness stuff, and we're going to be sitting in the lawyer area for a couple hours. I'll go in a sweatshirt, pair of sneakers, and a decent pair of slacks, and just take my briefcase, and we'll sit in there and dialogue for hours. Yes, because this is what it takes. We are dealing with professional people. The man studied law 40 years before he got on the bench. This is not small potatoes. The district attorney might have been a lawyer 40 years before he became a DA. Or he might have came out of school, law school, with the aspirations of being a district attorney. And I have to say this, in ACS, the child service situation, most of the people there are retired district attorneys taking our children away from families. They're retired judges. Now they go up and break the children up and try to get them on different types of abuse and psychotropic medications. So when they get 15, they're mentally lethargic. Their mind and will has been broken mentally and through the use of psychotropic medications.
Hit that shock treatment real quick because we're approaching the end.
Okay. shock treatment in certain places, just like we just mentioned, 5 Down, the underground prison system.
That movie, by the way, is 1992, Fortress. There are a number of Fortress movies. This one is 1992 that the brother was talking about. But go ahead, my brother.
Shock treatment is practiced today. It's known as, oh my goodness, electroconvulsive treatment. That's why they call it ECT. And I guess they discovered it during the Second World War, where they tried to knock a certain of your portion of your brain out, usually your frontal lobe. They have discovered your frontal lobes, where they do the lobotomy work, is located in the front of your head. Those of us that study chematic disciplines and other information, we know the glands and their location in our body now, especially the ductless glands and the chakras and different things. We know that they have certain responsibilities where our molecular structure is concerned. So when we would do something positively, they would give us the shock treatment and destroy us. If the shock treatment doesn't work, they'll give you a psychotropic medication, which they call medical lobotomy. A medical lobotomy. Whereas years ago they would go in your head with an ice pick, something similar to an ice pick. They put it in right behind your eyeball, and they wave it back and forth, left and right. They slice up your frontal lobes. Your frontal lobes is very important to an individual. And if you remove them, you can't replace them. So they using this industry of death. If you can, get some information on a DVD and some literature called Psychiatry and Industry of Death.
Psychiatry and Industry of Death. Brother Sekou on 125th Street, right in front of Fishers of Men. That's next to H&M, the same side of the street that H&M is on. He has a red van. And give that title again, Psychiatry
and Industry of Death.
He has that. I got that from him a little bit over a year ago. It's very, very informative and talks about that ice pick piece. Your telephone number, how people can contact you.
212-686-1970.
Repeat that, please.
212-686-1970.
And your advice to folks is stay in communication. And to our young brothers out there who think that weed ain't no big thing, real quick.
Yes, stay in communication with those you know who are incarcerated. Encourage their family to do so. Like I said, you don't have to send $50 a week to an inmate. Send them an encouraging letter. Let them know we out here and we wish he was with us. For the young, try to speak with them as much as you can. I found out some things. I like to meet them on the street and talk to them in a group fashion. Usually they don't listen to me until they're in the bullpen or they're in a state prison. Then they say, yo, OG, I'm feeling you. I'm feeling you now.
We at the
OG, I'm feeling you now. I didn't feel you up on Lenox Avenue.
We're at the end, Brother Robbie. Give your telephone number once again.
212-686-1970.
Brother Robert of Surviving the Rock, I want to thank you very much for joining us today on Respect for Life. May God continue to bless you and your family. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam, sir.
Ladies and gentlemen, Tuesday night on blogtalkradio.com. Those of you who don't have internet, go, here's the telephone number, 213-943-3618, 213-943-3618. We come on at 7 o'clock, and we'll be talking about mad cow disease. The gentleman we'll be interviewing is the one that was sued along with Oprah Winfrey a few years back when they talked about they wouldn't be eating no more beef. That's tomorrow night at 7 o'clock, 213-943-3618. And on the internet, www.blogtalkradio.com/The Keys 107. Also, we'll be interviewing Brother Leland Hardy, who will be dealing with why black athletes go broke. God bless you all with a wonderful and a fantastic day.
You don't have to travel downtown for Italian cuisine in an elegant atmosphere. Gran Piazza d'Oro now has a full-service bar